Hey guys, today I wanted to share with you a recipe that I have usually in my rotation, like once every other week. It's a staple, it's something that I love to make, it's something that you can prep ahead of time and you can freeze them, pull them out on those nights that you're really busy. But they are apple glazed meatballs. They are so delicious and they are really low in calorie, carbs, and pretty good in protein. So I wanted to share that recipe with you and I hope you guys enjoy it. So the first thing I'm going to do is start on the sauce, because I like to get the sauce going before I prep the meatballs. So we're gonna do the sauce first and then we'll do the meatballs and then I'll show you how I make them and prepare them and how I serve them. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start on the sauce first. So I'm just gonna turn on the stovetop and I just have a little saucepan and you're just gonna have it on medium-high heat. I'm using 1 cup of apple juice. And I'm just using the certified organic unfiltered apple juice from Trader Joe's. And this one is just pure organic apples. So I like that one. It has it doesn't have that much sugar in it. So I really like to use this one, or I also buy one from Whole Foods. So 1 cup of apple juice. Then you're going to need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And I just use the low sodium, the Kikkoman brand, Kikkoman, however you say it. I use that one, low sodium, so you're going to need 2 tablespoons of that. And have a wire whisk out because you're just going to want to kind of stir that around a little bit as it's going. And then next I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You can use 1 tablespoon if you'd like. I just use 2. It makes quite a bit of sauce, so I use 2 tablespoons of brown sugar in there. And as you cook it, it's all going to kind of thicken up, kind of like a teriyaki glaze. You can just keep stirring that around with the wire whisk. So we have in there our apple juice, we have our soy sauce, and the brown sugar. Next we're going to use 1 teaspoon of just cornstarch, and that is a thickening agent, so it's going to thicken up our sauce. And then next you're going to need about a teaspoon of ginger. I actually just use a couple dashes of ginger. I'm not a big fan of ginger, but it makes the sauce taste pretty good. So just about a teaspoon of ginger, and then just a dash of cayenne pepper. And you don't want it, unless you want it spicier, go ahead and add a little bit more cayenne. I just add a quick dash of cayenne pepper. And then you're just going to swirl that around with your wire whisk. And then next you're going to add between 1 and 2 tablespoons of mustard. I like to use a honey mustard just for that extra sweetness, but you can use 1 to 2 tablespoons of mustard. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of the mustard. Okay, and then mix that all around. So all you're going to do is just mix this and you're going to leave it on a medium heat. So you're going to let that simmer, and then as that's simmering on the stovetop, then I'm going to start on the meatballs. So I always put this on first just to get that started, and then I start the meatballs just so for to kind of make a quick dinner. So let's move on to the meatballs next. So now that we have the glaze going on the stovetop, we're going to start on our meatballs next. So I just like to use a round Pyrex dish, and this is just to put the meatballs in here before I cook them on the stove. And then in here I have my extra lean ground turkey. So this is just raw turkey. I use a half a package. You can use a full package of the extra lean turkey. I just use half of it, and this makes plenty of meatballs for dinner and then enough for lunches throughout the week. So it's probably about, I would say, 4 to 5 ounces of extra lean turkey. So just depending on how much you want to make, that's how much you're going to use. So you have your extra lean ground turkey in this bowl. And then next we're going to add a 1/4 cup of diced onions. So I'm just going to put the diced onions in with the meat. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic. You can use fresh garlic or the kind in the refrigerator section if you want to use the minced garlic there. That's completely fine. I like making these because they're pretty quick to make, and there's something that you can do ahead of time and have on hand, or you can make them and freeze them, but they're really simple. You have a lot of leftovers and they taste so delicious. I love these. That's why they're always in my rotation for dinner. And then next we're going to add 2 tablespoons of egg whites. So I just use these egg whites. I get this I use the large box from Costco. They have, I believe it's like 8 cartons of egg whites, 6 or 8, I don't even know. But I use the ones from Costco. So into the meat, we're just gonna use 2 tablespoons of egg whites. There's 1 and 2. So 2 tablespoons of egg whites in there. And then next you're gonna need 2 to 3 tablespoons of breadcrumbs. Just depends on your preference if you wanna use 2 or 3. I just use 2 tablespoons of the oats, just dry oats, oatmeal. I throw it into the Vitamix and into the dry container, and I'll just pulse it for a couple times, and it makes like breadcrumbs for me. So you guys can use breadcrumbs, or you can just use dry oats, like quick oats, and pulse them down in your blender, food processor, Ninja. I'm sure you could leave them whole. It would just be like more of like an oatmeal texture in your meatballs. I like to leave them, you know, grinded up like a breadcrumb. It just gives it like a really nice texture. So you're just gonna mix all of that together. And I used 2 tablespoons of the dry oats as my breadcrumbs. You can use 3 if you'd like. So we're just gonna mix that all together. And then next you're gonna add some pepper. You're gonna want about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. You can use more or less depending on if you like pepper or if you don't. I'm not a huge fan of pepper, so I just use like a few shakes of it. You're gonna use some ground cinnamon, and same thing, just a couple shakes of cinnamon. And then I'm using the pink Himalayan sea salt, or the pink Himalayan salt, and you only need it just like a dash of it. So I just did like 1 full turn on that. And then you're gonna mix that all up. You can mix this by hand. You can mix this with your spoon because your hands are gonna get dirty anyway. So if you have any jewelry, take it off, unless you don't mind having food in it. But what you're gonna do is, now you have your mixture, I'm just gonna take my hands and kind of squish it all together. And I've already washed my hands ahead of time. So we're just gonna squish all the mixture together, and then you're gonna form meatballs. It's up to you what size you want. If you want them all the same, get one of those little like cookie scoops or like a dough scooper, so they're all, you know, equal amounts. So you just toss it back and forth and make like a little ball, and I just set it there. So you're just gonna keep repeating this until all of your mixture is formed into meatballs, and then we will get them started on the oven next. So I have all of the meatballs prepped. I have 10 meatballs here. And the next thing I'm gonna do is heat up just a skillet. I put a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just trying to coat the pan. So I put a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and then I'm going to, wrong one. I'm going to turn on the stove, again, like a medium heat. Let that heat up. And then next we're gonna go ahead and put the meatballs in here and let them cook. I'm gonna turn them over every probably a couple minutes just to let them brown up a little bit. And then at the very end, once they're almost done, we're gonna pour the glaze on top of them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put the meatballs in. So we have the meatballs cooking on the stove top. I'm gonna go ahead and give our sauce a little swirl here just to mix it all up. It's starting to thicken, which that's what we want. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see it? It's starting to like bubble up there. So we're just gonna let the meatballs cook a few seconds, or a few minutes actually, let them brown and cook. And then we're gonna go ahead and put the sauce on here. So we'll just wait for those to be ready. Meatballs have been cooking for a little bit, so now that they're browned, I'm gonna go ahead and add the sauce to the meatballs. And you're just gonna let that all simmer together. And I'm gonna turn the meatballs just a few times, just so the glaze gets on top of all the meatballs. So it's just gonna sit in that sauce, everything's gonna simmer together, and then we're gonna go ahead and, I like to use the Trader Joe's brown rice. So I'll show you guys how I do that, and I'm just gonna let that continue cooking. Okay guys, so the meatballs are all done. They're fresh off the oven or off the stovetop. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the Trader Joe's brown rice. I like to keep these bags on hand. They come in a box at Trader Joe's in the frozen section. I think you get 3 or 4 packets. They have brown rice, they have an organic brown rice. So I do buy the organic brown rice in these, and you just cut off the top, and you can leave them in I just set them in a bowl, and you can microwave them. I believe it's like 1.5 minutes or 3 minutes. And the brown rice is done. You can also do it on the stovetop, that is fine too. So just complete preference. But it's just a quick meal that you can do ahead of time. You can prep it on the weekend and have it during the week if you want to freeze it. Or you can always prep the meatballs and then prep the sauce separate. Keep them separate from each other, and then the day that you're ready to make them, just go ahead and do that. but they're really delicious. I love these. Like I said, I have them every other week in my rotation for recipes, and so I want to share them with you guys as a dinner or lunch idea. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Try it out, let me know, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!